In this video, I talk with Jon Jorgenson about how to make a viral video, how to become a better storyteller in your YouTube videos, and the 3 essential tips for crushing it on YouTube. Coming up. Hey, what's up, influencers? Sean here with Video Influencers, helping you build your influence, income, and impact with online video. And today I'm here with Jon Jorgenson, who is an author, speaker. He's a spoken word artist and also a YouTuber doing vlogs and a lot of cool stuff.
Well, that's it. Vloguary has come to a close. A new video every day, all February long.
How's it going, Jon?
Good, thanks for having me on, man. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for doing your project.
Man, absolutely. It's great to have you. And just to kind of kick it off, and for those who aren't familiar with your work, can you kind of just share a little bit of your story and how you got to where you are with online video right now?
Yeah, so any story of mine, it has to start with a summer camp that I grew up going to and then eventually working at. It was a sort of a Christian theater summer camp in the suburbs of Chicago. And basically, I grew up going to that camp, and then eventually they asked me back as a counselor. And as a counselor, they asked me to create this like devotion material for the evening Bible studies and things like that. And I didn't really know what to do, so I started to write these sort of short pieces. I didn't really know what to call them. They were spoken word poetry. And I started to share them with the campers, and they reacted really well. And then a couple years later, after I graduated college, I knew it would kind of be, or I thought it would be my last summer as a camp counselor there. So I got together with a few friends. I said, hey, I want to take these pieces and put them on video so I can send them to the campers. They can have them to take home. It'll be all good. And so that's what we did. We put them on video, and YouTube was just the easiest place to put something up and share it. And when we did that, the campers shared them with their friends, who shared them with their friends, who shared them with their friends, and then it just sort of took off. And so we had no intention of, me and my friends, we had no intention of starting a YouTube channel at all. We didn't really even know what that was all about. But then we said, well, we should just probably keep making videos. And now I've done that for the past almost 3 years. And I just a couple months ago really got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm a YouTuber. It's the most millennial thing you could ever say, but that's what I am, and that's what I do.
That's awesome. And one of the big thing that started off, it was called like the Anima Series, right?
Right. Yeah, that's what we started it off. We called it that for probably the first year and a half. But me and my friends that started it, we were kind of fresh out of college, looking for what we wanted to do, and then eventually, people go to grad school or they get real jobs, and so everyone else kind of had to step away. And really for the whole second year, I was doing it all by myself. And that's when I realized, maybe it's time. I was trying to get my career going as a speaker. And I was like, I think it's time to redo this as just me, Jon Jorgenson. So it exists as Jon Jorgenson today.
I got it. So you transition. And so now what is kind of the focus of your content and maybe kind of schedule? So I've seen that you're doing vlogs, but you kind of have a mix. So what can people expect on your channel?
Yeah, so I think if you were to go to my channel, you would find, right now at least, a pretty consistent schedule of every day there's a new video. Mostly they're vlogs, except for on Wednesdays I upload a series I call A Day in the Word, which is basically an internet Bible study. Every week I go through a different chapter of the Bible. So I do that on Wednesdays, and then on Friday I do what I call my Friday videos, that's kind of what we did when we first started the channel. It was every Friday we posted a new video, and that's either going to be a spoken word poem, like a Q&A show. I do a thing called 7-minute sermons, which is just like a short message. And then I always post, if I ever do like live talks, I'll post one of those a month, which those end up being 25 minutes to like 45 minutes.
Got it. Awesome. Now, when I go to your videos and I put them in order of like most popular, you've got a couple that are just like have crushed it. There's a lot that are over 500,000, one over 1 million, and one that's almost like 5 million views. And so, I think for definitely the influencers community that's watching, what are some of maybe the lessons? Like when you look back over some of the things you've created and that you can pull from why those maybe did so good and maybe how that affects even your future ideas for trying to achieve that again. I know a lot of people would love to, kind of break through with a viral video, and that could be so elusive as a term, but what are your kind of thoughts on some of your videos that have just crushed it?
Yeah, there is something very elusive about it. I think if there was that formula for how to create a viral video, there would probably be a lot more people who are creating them every single time. But one thing that I notice is that all those videos, I think they're really tapping into a lot of things that everyone feels, all people are feeling, all people are struggling with, but very few people have the courage to actually go out and say it. One of the reasons that I kind of started speaking live, or I guess for me, the story of how I discovered that passion was the first time I went to that camp actually before I became a counselor, and they asked me to sort of share my story, share my testimony. And when I did that, I saw that the fact that I opened up about things I was struggling with, that gave others the courage to do the same, and people responded to that. And so from then on, I said, I want to kind of dedicate my life to this, to having the courage to be the first one to speak so that others can find the courage to do the same. And so I think vulnerability is a huge thing. And for me, like, I don't have like viral vines that'll make you laugh or, you know, cat videos or things like that. But even in those, I think there is a sense of like vulnerability. You're doing something that other people, they recognize with it because they've seen it or they've experienced it or whatever it might be. I deal with emotions that people feel, whereas other viral videos deal with experiences that people want or relationships that people have experienced. It's all about, I think, finding that shared experience, especially things that people aren't always really willing to talk about right away, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's incredibly powerful. I mean, there's a couple takeaways. You're talking about A, if you tap into emotions, and B, I think courage. I love it. Courage and vulnerability. And that is a place that we don't want to go. I think as influencers, sometimes we kind of play hedged, we play it safe, but to develop the courage to step out there, and that's risk, and that's your uncertainty of how people are going to respond. With those big videos, did you have any kind of like a mix of feedback and any negativity, or have you dealt with like haters? I know that's one thing, that's the next thought. It's like, okay, well, if I put myself out there and I don't play it safe, I might receive some negativity or some haters. What are your tips on that or your experience?
Yeah, I think, you know, what's interesting is when you talk about, you know, if you want to create a viral video, you know, I would challenge you to find a single video that has more than 500,000 views on YouTube that does not have hate comments on it. That is one of the reasons that people share things. People share things that either make them extremely happy, make them laugh extremely hard, or make them extremely angry. It's that it taps into an emotion in them. And yeah, there's a lot of people who will watch, you know, some of my most popular videos and they just hate on it. You know what I mean? And that's the way it is, you know. Casey Neistat did the snowboarding in New York City video a while ago, right? And I was in New York when that happened, when that blizzard happened. And there were so many people that hated on him for doing something so irresponsible. But most of the people that watched it loved it, and they thought it was awesome. So it really doesn't matter what you do. People are going to find a reason to hate on it. But for me, as far as dealing with that and how I deal with it, I think of it in terms of you have to examine the source. Where is it coming from? Do you know this person? You know, does this person have your best interests at heart? And then you also have to look at how are they delivering it? You know what I mean? If someone's gonna throw a water balloon at you, you know, you're not just gonna like dive right in front of it. You know, you're gonna look at, well, who's throwing it? And also how are they throwing it? And if a person takes the time to sign their name to something and send it to me in an email, I'll at least give them a reply and consider it. But if someone's gonna like troll me in the anonymous YouTube comments section, that's the armpit of the internet. You know, there's nothing worse than that. And so I had to slowly learn that that's just not worth the time of day. And that took me, after being obsessed with those hate comments, my wife came to me and she was like, you need to stop reading all YouTube comments. And I did for about 4 or 5 months. And now you can say whatever you want about me. It'll bother me for a second and then I'll let it go. But it really is a interesting skill that you kind of have to learn.
That's some great advice. Now, one of the things you're super passionate about is storytelling. And that's one thing that you do very well in your videos and that you do in different ways. And you even have different styles of videos. And obviously as a communicator and a public speaker, what are some of your biggest lessons that you've learned, I think, as YouTubers and video influencers telling good stories, no matter what? I mean, if it's business, if it's just a review channel, no matter what kind of content, stories really resonate with people. It's something you've studied, it's something you've cultivated, something you've developed. What are some of your tips when it comes to telling better stories, especially on YouTube?
Yeah, so I think, so the reason that I fell in love with storytelling, I went to a conference not too long ago at a church where I heard a pastor say, whoever tells the best story shapes the culture. And the idea around this is if you look throughout history and you look at the art that is being created, whether it be films or whether it be the books that were being written or whether it be the music that was being created, the society follows that. What people do, how people dress, how people act, it follows the story that are being told. Whoever tells the best story shapes the culture. And if you look in our society today, that's true. You look at the things that people are watching the most, whether it be on YouTube or whether it be in films or in music, whatever, that is shaping our culture. And so if you want to be, like we talk about, an influencer, if you want to shape our culture, you have to start telling better stories. And as far as tips for how to tell better stories, there really is, I think one thing that vlogging, this whole like huge phenomenon of vlogging and this huge trend, the lesson we can learn from that is that each individual person is inherently interesting. We are all inherently interesting. What we have to learn is the skills for how to craft our own stories, our own experiences into a narrative that will be entertaining or enlightening or encouraging or empowering, whatever your goal is. But I think each and every one of us, we are given experiences, and every experience, every day that you live, it has the opportunity to become a great story that could encourage someone else. There are days on my vlog where I did a vlog the other day where I took a day off, where I literally sat on this couch and watched that TV all day. And I vlogged about it. And you wouldn't believe, because I was able to craft together a bit of a story with it, people were encouraged by that video. People were entertained. Everything that was my goal was happening. So in everything there is a story. You just kind of have to learn to mine it out of there, if that makes sense.
That's really, really good. And I think one thing that I've learned is that having a beginning, middle, and end. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
That's probably, as far as a framework, that stories, have you found that there is some sort of a framework that you have in your mind, or maybe it's written out for your videos?
Not necessarily. I don't think I have an exact formula for creating each video, as much as something that is so important to me is I'm really big on, like, there has to be a point. There has to be a reason for it. And that reason, I don't have to say it explicitly, but it has to exist, if that makes sense. It has to be more than just like, I want you to watch this so that I can get more views so that my AdSense numbers go up. It has to be more than that, because there's a lot of videos out there, and there's a lot of YouTube channels out there. People can give their time to whoever. So the fact that someone has taken 3 minutes or 7 minutes out of their day to watch a video of mine, then I better deliver something, some sort of point, some sort of, I guess, moral to the story. And like I said, that doesn't have to be explicitly stated. We're not looking to create super cheesy videos or anything, but I think there does have to be a reason for it. What is the reason behind this video? And how can everything that I do in creating that story, how can it support that reason?
I love it. I love it. Now, one of the things that you mentioned too, as you transitioned in your personal life and you started having this heart to speak more, I know that for influencers watching, there are 2 questions here. One, how do you develop as a speaker? They say that, people would rather die sometimes than publicly speak. But then also 2, for those who maybe want to get into that, and YouTube can be like a place for that. I know there's people who would love to maybe speak at conferences related to the niche of their channel, or maybe they are trying to ultimately build that up. Like, what are some of the things that you found when it comes to public speaking and how that ties into what you're doing on YouTube?
Yeah, so for me, I received... Speaking was another thing that I stumbled into. I was just kind of like everyone else. I didn't want to speak. I had no interest in it. I didn't know how to do it or anything like that. But what was funny is, because at that camp that I worked at, someone noticed that when I was leading the games, the students listened to me more than they listened to other people. They saw a gifting in me to speak, and people would listen. So they literally gave me a microphone, they shoved it in my hand, and they're like, you should go say something during this devotion small group time. And I was like, I don't know what to say. So I started writing. And then I started speaking more and more. And I did this for about 4 summers. I didn't speak anywhere else but at this camp to these students every summer. But I didn't realize I was getting 4 summers worth of practice with public speaking.
Wow.
And that was huge. I was just given this sort of platform where I could practice and learn. And I think that's a huge thing, is finding whatever that is for you. It was sort of given to me on accident, but finding it, whether that's speaking for free, whether that's, if you're a video influencer, or if you have an influence, or if you have an audience, you have the ability to rent a space and say, hey, come out and hear me speak for a little while. It's totally free. Speaking for free is one way of doing it for sure. I think beyond that, though, the way that YouTube is a absolutely free marketing tool. It is a free marketing tool for any speaker, because while I don't necessarily, I go and I speak at a lot of churches and a lot of youth conferences and a lot of things with, first of all, people who are way older than me. I'm 24 years old. The youngest speaker at most of these places is in their late 30s, early 40s. They're much older than me. They have much more education than me. I didn't go to any sort of like theological seminary or anything like that. And they have much more knowledge on the Bible and just everything. They have more than me. So what I lack in experience and what I lack in education, I have in an entire portfolio of 200 YouTube videos to where I can send that to someone. I can reach out and I can say, hey, I'd love to come speak at your conference or church. Here's 200 videos of me speaking so I can prove I'm not a hack. Especially when you're at the beginning, you don't have a lot of testimonials and things like that. But what you do is you create your own testimonials, because you get in front of your camera, you speak, and then you send it to someone. And that would be the last thing. Reach out to people. Don't be too proud to reach out and say, hey, I'd love to come speak for you. You won't hear back from 95% of people, but the one you do will be a good one, and it'll lead to the next one.
That's so great. And I love what you said, that practice. I've heard it said that, nobody starts an expert. Like, nobody's born, even if they're born with natural talent, they're not a pro yet. That takes time and practice. And YouTube's free. That's a great platform to practice on, put your content on. That's super powerful. Now, you actually just recently posted a video about YouTube. And definitely now your channel's approaching 200,000 subscribers, and you've had this experience. You've had some literally viral videos, and you've learned some things. What are some of your biggest YouTube tips? But maybe, let me put it this way first. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see other people making on YouTube that you're like, yeah, you could save some time if you didn't do it that way?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think the biggest mistake that people make on YouTube is, and I don't want this to come off harsh, the biggest mistake people make on YouTube is being on YouTube when their skills don't align with someone who will succeed on YouTube. And what I mean by that is YouTube is not right for everyone. Not everyone is right for communicating their art or whatever, or starting their business or selling their thing through video. For some people, it's the written word. For other people, it's creating events and meeting them and creating events around whatever your thing is. YouTube is not for everyone. And I think because it is sort of the hot thing to do right now, there's a lot of people out there who's like, well, if you're not doing YouTube, then you're not going to succeed. That's not true at all. I know people who, there's a woman in Arizona. She runs an amazing event for women in real estate that empowers them. And she is the last person that should ever be on YouTube. But her event is growing and it's getting better because she's leveraging her skills, the skills that she's been given, rather than listening to what everyone else says. So I think a lot of YouTubers or a lot of people on YouTube, when they're just starting out, they need to take a hard look in the mirror and say, is video the most effective platform for me to get my message across? Then if it is, then, watch my video on how to succeed on YouTube. My steps are sort of to be authentic, to be yourself, don't be other people, take inspiration from other people, but don't try and be them, because they already are them and they're better at being them than you are. Upload consistently. That's huge. YouTube gives channels that upload a lot, actually a lot more love as far as search rankings and things like that go. It kind of works like a blog in that way. And also it helps to build trust with your audience. When people know, like, I can watch a video from Jon today because he uploads a video every day, that builds that trust. And trust is huge. It is so huge in today's, internet economy. And the last thing is to make good videos. And these are things I talk about in my video of how to succeed. I don't really know how to make good videos, because there are videos out there that succeed that I think are awful. And there's videos that I think are amazing that only 10 people have watched. So that is an ethereal thing. And if you can figure it out, please hit me up on Twitter.
Absolutely. And we'll definitely link up that video in the description. Great video. One of the first videos that I think I saw of yours. Super good. I think one caveat, and I'm curious if you would agree with this. You're totally right. I think self-awareness is so essential to really, assess if you have, what it takes to be on video. I think an encouragement, though, for video influencers is that maybe the project that you're working on right now, if you're discouraged, you're still developing your skill in that process. Video influencers even launched about a year ago, but I started video. I had, in fact, actually started video at my youth group doing weekly video announcements in 2003. And we were shooting on DV tapes and like editing in Premiere in those days. And so like my video experience went way back, and that stuff was terrible, Jon.
Right.
Like I don't want anybody to see that stuff. But that was part of my learning curve. And so in some cases, maybe how would you articulate that? Like if you're not really banging success,
right.
if you're not hitting it yet, you're still in the process potentially of developing that. And maybe it's not this channel or this thing, but everything you're learning right now will eventually could come to a point where, okay, boom, it clicks and now you can crush it.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between when what we're talking about is recognizing potential versus just not having the DNA for it. That's something that we have to sort of discern for ourselves, because if we recognize that we have the potential, then do not stop. Keep making those videos, keep plugging, keep working, keep every day grinding. But if you look yourself in the mirror and say, I just don't have the DNA for this, then actually you're stealing time away from that thing that you could be doing that you really could be succeeding at.
Well put. Now, what has been in this journey the maybe hardest obstacle in this passion you have of building this platform to spread a message that matters and impact people? What's been the hardest obstacle in this journey in the last few years, and how'd you overcome it?
I think what's funny, the hardest obstacle for me actually has been in coming to a place where I am okay with this identity as a YouTuber or as an online person who makes videos for somewhat of a living, because that's something that I think the vast majority of people in the world, obviously not who are watching this podcast, but the vast majority of people in the world, they just don't understand. They're like, wait, you do what? Like, I can't tell my grandpa that I'm a YouTuber. He doesn't necessarily understand it, because it's not a conventional job. These jobs that we do, they didn't exist even 10, 15, 20 years ago. They did not exist. And
right.
So I think that's hard because, you feel judgment from other people. Like, oh, who do you think you are? What do you have to say? What makes you so special that you think people should watch you? And I think learning how to deal with that judgment, or even if it was just perceived judgment, is one of the biggest hurdles I continually have to jump over. And I think that the way that I get over it and the way that I get through it is just by continually reminding myself that no, this is what I feel I've been called to do, and this is how I feel I was called to make a difference in the world, and this is the best way I know how to do it. Sorry if my skills weren't being an entrepreneur and creating a product business, but that's not the skills those aren't the skills I was given. That might make a little more sense to my parents or my grandpa, but that's not the skills I was given. So I'm going to lean on what I have been given, and I'm going to pursue that, regardless of what other people might think about it.
I love that. That's super powerful. I mean, obviously following your heart and following, your faith. And I think maybe that was probably very encouraging for some watching, because you're absolutely right. I think the mindset and just kind of the mental battle can sometimes cause people to hedge a little bit when maybe they feel that pull, they feel that push, but it's unconventional. And so they maybe rest in the security of other people's expectations, parents, friends, or so many different things. So that's very cool that you pressed through and had the courage to kind of hit that tipping point.
Yeah, absolutely. It's difficult, but it's definitely worth it. It really is.
So one of the big questions that people ask, and it's actually a hang up that a lot of times I encourage people, is it's not the biggest thing, is like, what kind of camera gear do people use, and how do they make their videos? And so with that though, I'm sure people would love to know when it comes to, and you've also done small product. I mean, you've done like vlogging, and then you've also done like bigger production stuff. What are some of the things that you've learned when it comes to like putting out these great videos, and what gear do you use?
Yeah, I've learned, and again, I don't want this to come off the wrong way. I've learned that it doesn't matter, or at least it doesn't matter nearly as much as a lot of people think. What I've learned is that the majority of us, including myself, use the I don't know what gear I should use as an excuse. It's a stalling mechanism that we use in order to give ourselves an excuse to not start our channel or to not create our art. This whole idea of like, oh, well, Jon can do that because he has a Canon 70D, or, Casey Neistat can do that because he has a drone, or, Gary Vaynerchuk can do that because he has someone who follows him around with a camera. Those are just excuses that we use to excuse ourselves from not doing the work. I've made videos solely on my cell phone that have been more popular than videos I made with an entire team and lights and several other cameras. The first video I ever made, we made with my friend's dad's borrowed camera that was, it was not nearly as nice as this Canon I'm filming on. And that video has 5 million views. And it has it has like a green screen that flashes in the middle of it. And the audio is not synced correctly. There are so many things that are wrong about that video. But once again, it was so much more about the message that was being conveyed, about the story that was being told, rather than about the equipment that was being used. And so what I would really say to everyone is, don't let the lack of equipment or the I don't know much about video be an excuse to keep you from doing it. You can find videos everywhere. Probably some from people in video influencers about what's the best camera to use for YouTube. But what I don't think you'll find is a lot of people telling you to stop making excuses.
That's super, super good. And so influencers, start now, start today. Finish this video, but as soon as this video's over, go start, and that'll be awesome. Well, Jon, let's jump into the lightning round. Are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be, I think.
I need an interpretive dance and sound effect of what lightning looks like on your end.
Okay.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Lightning round. 3, 2, 1. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Talking or texting?
Texting, except if it's with my wife.
Would you rather never use social media sites and apps again, or never watch another movie or TV show again?
Never use social media again.
Including YouTube?
Including YouTube.
Okay.
No.
All right.
I take that back. If YouTube's included in there, then no. I would rather never watch a TV show.
Person you most trust with a secret?
My wife.
Last thing that you grabbed out of the fridge?
Lentil soup.
Favorite place in the whole wide world?
Home.
Would you rather have unlimited international first class tickets, or never have to pay for food at restaurants again in your life?
I'm gonna say never have to pay for food, because I would want the tickets, but my wife would want the food.
Smart. Favorite nickname for yourself?
In high school, people called me Big John, but I'm no longer like big, because I used to be tall and like large, but I'm not so large anymore.
Okay, Big John. Hashtag Big John. Bring it back. Biggest pet peeve?
Repeating myself.
Cat or dog?
Dog.
Last song you had on repeat?
Probably wasn't a song, it was probably a podcast, because I don't listen to a lot of music.
Favorite YouTube channel right now?
Casey Neistat.
Your go-to comfort food?
Fried chicken. Or no, Domino's pizza right now.
Man, I skipped lunch, so both of those, I'm just ready to go.
Come on.
Book every influencer should read?
What to Do When It's Your Turn by Seth Godin.
And podcast every influencer should listen to?
All of them. Video influencers. Let's see. I would say the Tim Ferriss Show. I just love it. It's not a very like tactical podcast, but there's so much wisdom to mine from these amazing people he interviews.
Okay, so that was the lightning round. Good job. Where can people connect with you? Like, what do you have coming up, and what are some of the projects? Where are you on social media? Where are you most active on social media? share all the stuff with us.
Yeah, so I'm pretty much, I post kind of everywhere, social media wise, but where I interact on Twitter and through email. On Twitter, I'm at Jon Jorgensen. Email, I'm jonjorgensen3@gmail.com. And that's where I interact with people. And I really do love to interact. I answer all my emails. I pretty much reply to every tweet. I love it. Then obviously find me on YouTube. I'm there every day. Just search my name, Jon Jorgensen. You'll find plenty of videos for yourself. Just, yeah, reach out and say hi. I'd love to connect with you if you watched this, you know?
I love it, absolutely. And influencers, definitely check out Jon's stuff. Jon, thank you so much for being on. Really inspired by everything that you're doing. I mean, you put a lot of excellence into your videos. And like you said, not just the quality, but also, of course, the content. And you're making a huge difference in the world, inspiring a lot of people. And we're very grateful for you. Final word of encouragement for the video influencers watching to get out there and crush it.
Well, before I do that, I want to thank you for creating this amazing, this amazing project and trying to mobilize, the next generation of creators and the current generation of creators. The work that they do is important, so the work that you do is ever more important. But
oh, thank you.
So the last word, just make good art. Make good art, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be painting. It doesn't have to be writing. It doesn't have to be dance. It is anything that you create something out of nothing and use it to make a human connection. Make good art.
Powerful. Thank you so much, Jon.
Thank you. It's been a blast.
So thanks so much for checking out this video. Definitely subscribe for more videos and interviews just like this. And if you haven't downloaded our free YouTube checklist, it goes through 19 things to do every time you upload a video. Super helpful for just getting more views, getting your videos ranked, and just getting your message going further, faster on YouTube. If you like this video, hit the like button, check out all the show notes and things in the YouTube description. And until next time, keep crushing it, and we will talk soon.